Good morning, good morning, good morning. How we doing, everybody? Vivian, Andrea, Tage, Detrice, Alicia, Cheswick. Good morning. Hope everybody had a great night's sleep. Right, throw a 3 in the chat if you're feeling refreshed this morning. Throw a 4 in the chat if you're still a little bit run down and you had one of those nights, right, where maybe you didn't get good sleep or the melatonin left you groggy or you spilled your breakfast. It's okay, right? We all have different mornings. You guys are with me through each and every one of mine, whether it's a good morning or a bad morning. But let me know how it was. Hopefully it was good. Alicia said 4. Look, I get that. I feel that. I couldn't find my melatonin like 2 nights ago, and I found like Tylenol PMs and took 2. And then I also took a melatonin because I found one, and I woke up the next morning and I literally felt like I was sleepwalking. 3 and sipping on that fresh juice. I love it. I love it. Tage said 4. Hey, it happens sometimes, brother. Yes. Hello, everybody. Hope you guys had a great morning. And even if you didn't, what's amazing is that you have the crappy day to start. We've still got the majority of the hours the day has available in front of us, which is a great time, right? An absolute going out or something. But we're here for one reason and one reason only, right? And that's to get 1% better each and every day. We're here to put our money to work for us so that we can have the freedom to do other things, right? The freedom to pursue purpose, the freedom to hang out with loved ones, the freedom to just give ourselves wiggle room to survive, right? I mean, you guys are probably seeing the statistics, a lot of like stat based like accounts and stuff, but just about like the debt to income ratio right now and just where we're at, credit card debt, like people are being squeezed, right? So this is something where, again, a lot of people do not have a choice. You've got to make sure that your money is working for you, and you've got to make sure you're doing the steps in order to do that, right? Because we've got debt at crazy levels in relation to debt to income, right? We've got credit card delinquency at crazy levels. We've got a lot of different statistics that are like we have not seen since 2008, right? So just because the market is like, okay, doing pretty well, that doesn't mean that the average person is doing any better. And I think that's what like a lot of Americans like to have pride in, but like seem to sorely forget is like just because you've got like Nvidia at new all-time highs does not mean that your household is like also at the peak of its wealth, which is really important. Don't let this like illusion of wealth, like, oh, I know it's somewhere out there in America. Yeah, I want to make sure it's with me, right? And that's what we're here to do each and every day. So making sure that we're doing what's necessary, right? Identifying the opportunities, setting the alerts, creating the charts, executing on those opportunities, and moving from there, right? Because there is a lot of opportunity to take advantage of. You just got to be there ready to take advantage of it. So let's go ahead and we can move from here. Also, I was just alerted since like this is my office and I'm kind of like doing whatever with it, but like that my curtains, I like ordered them while Bailey was out of town, and I just didn't even measure the fact I have like high ceilings in here, and the curtains like don't go to the ground, which I did not know was like a thing that's frowned upon because I'm a man and I feel like I don't really know if we know those things. I was just like, oh, blackout curtains. And yeah, so now I look back and I'm like, oh, I need curtains that go lower. So, maybe I'll go and at this point actually measure the curtains, but I feel like that's just a classic like guy thing where it's just like, oh, I need something to cover the hole in the wall, right? And and also I go and I'm like, oh yeah, let me take this room with a lot of natural light, and I just cover all of the natural light that comes in. So yeah, that's like also classic man goes traveling and doesn't have toothbrush or like doesn't have toothpaste or doesn't have a belt. It's just like I don't know, man. I need a checklist or something. I need supervision in areas that aren't market areas, right? I've got my area that I'm good at, and then other than that, it's really a toss up. But anyways, just a little insight into me and my troubles, interior design troubles. I'm still trying to figure out like what futon or something I want to put back there. So who knows? If you guys have any suggestions, send them over. In terms of top news here, red ink. So America's national debt has topped, and I didn't even look at this before, so this is just crazy coincidence. America's national debt has topped 33 trillion for the first time, according to the latest figures from the Treasury Department. The record amount of red ink and gloomy fiscal milestone come as Congress braces for another fight over federal spending. Unless lawmakers can agree to pass a dozen appropriations bills by September 30th or ink a short-term deal continuing resolution to fund the government, the U.S. would face its first federal shutdown since 2019. It's actually pretty crazy. I have a friend that works on the Hill, and this is completely, separate from market news, but we're in a fantasy football league together, and a league in which I'm in first, by the way, 2-0. No big deal. But yeah, so we're in this league, and he had a guy who got hurt last night, and he needs a running back, so sent him a little trade deal, and he was like, yeah, if I don't get back to you, it's because I'm trying to avert like a government shutdown. And I just texted him. I was like, bro, what is going on the Hill, man? I feel like every other month it's like the government is going to shut down, and it's just like, yeah, Chubb. Vanessa, you're on top of it. Yeah, Chubb. Which, rest in peace, King. Like, he's still alive, but just really gruesome injury, horrible to watch. They didn't even show the replay. I saw the video, and I should have had a barf bag with me. But it's just tough. One of the best pure runners in the league, and an awesome guy. Pittsburgh fans were chanting for Chubb when he got carted off the field, supporting him because he's just that good of a dude. So a class act. Really sorry about it. But that's also why I went in to this year stockpiling running backs on my team because they're so likely to get hurt. So I don't know. I approach kind of fantasy the same way I do markets. I'm like, it's a game of probabilities. I take in a lot of data, and then I make decisions based on the data, right? It's one of the reasons why your boy is a champion, right? He's a favorite, make it to the championship every year, except for last year where I completely gave up because my team sucked because I just messed that up. But it happens. Same thing in the trading world, right? There's some trades you're just like, wow, that did not work, and that was actually horrible. But yeah, so he's there working nonstop. And when I say nonstop, I mean deep into the morning, right? 2, 3 in the morning. They're working to avert this shutdown. So we'll see what the heck ends up happening. I'm just glad I don't have a job on the Hill. In terms of quotes here, net interest as a share of GDP refers to net payments the federal government makes on its debt in relation to U.S. gross domestic product. Those interest payments totaled 1.86% of GDP in 2022, which falls in line with the historical average since 1960 of just under 2%. But other factors are causing more alarm. The national deficit for the first 11 months of the latest fiscal year was $1.5 trillion, marking a 61% increase from the same period a year ago, while total public household debt hit a record $17 trillion in Q2. With the U.S. debt to GDP ratio reaching 120%, the U.S. debt situation is out of control with no responsible body of people in the government willing to address it, said Seeking Alpha analyst John Mason. Now, what to watch? There's no magic number or level for when a government's debt begins to hurt its economy, and the U.S. has easily handled a much heavier debt load than was what's possible. Even using those conditions to remain competitive on the international stage. However, a spike in interest rates over the past year and a half has made the cost of servicing the national debt way more expensive, posing significant risks to the fiscal and economic outlook. Extreme partisanship has also left both parties pointing fingers and kicking the can further down the road. Partisanship just means everybody is only operating along their party lines and they just don't want to budge at all. You guys probably know what that means, but I don't know. I explain it anyways, just because I'm not a huge politics person. So I need all the political jargon explained to me. That's just what that means. It's like Crips and Bloods, right? You're on that side, I'm on this side. And even if you're right and I agree with what you want to do, I'm not agreeing with you because I'm on this side, which is the sad reality of, humanity and even in democracy. Just one of the rampant shortcomings that we have going on. Let's see here. The GOP has cited bloated federal spending programs that passed during the Biden administration, like the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, the CHIPS and Science Act, and the Inflation Reduction Act, while Democrats have referenced the trillions spent on Republican tax cuts skewed to the wealthy and big corporations. So let's see here. Yeah, so as of right now, this will probably be something that we continue to hear about. Who knows? Hopefully only for the next few days, but probably for the next few weeks. If I know, we all live in America. We know how this goes. I do not see this being shorter than a 2-week thing. So at minimum 1 week, just because people really have to dig their heels in to make a point before they kick the can down the road. So we'll see. Again, government shutdown hasn't officially happened since 2019. but we might get one. So we'll continue to monitor that situation. In terms of energy news, no peak yet. Top oil executives are voicing support for the global transition to cleaner energy, but said the crude will continue to play a major role for decades to come in remarks at the World Petroleum Congress in Calgary. Exxon CEO Darren Woods and Saudi Aramco boss Ayman Nasser both pushed back against the recent prediction from the head of the International Energy Agency that the era of fossil fuels is ending and demand will peak by 2030. Outlining the transition to cleaner energy to fight climate change will require continuing investment in conventional oil and gas. Quote, no matter where demand gets to, if we don't maintain some level of investment in the oil and gas industry, you end up running short of supply, which leads to higher prices, said Wood in a view echoed by Nasser. Now, in terms of IPOs at the high end, grocery delivery firm Instacart, ticker CART, has priced its initial public offering at $30 per share at the top of a previously stated range, giving an evaluation of $10 billion. Instacart, also known as Maple Bear, had boosted its IPO price range to $20 to $30 a share to raise as much as $660 million following the renewed optimism thanks to ARM's impressive market debut. Was it that impressive? Like, I feel like only going up 25%. Maybe it's just because we don't pay attention. It's kind of like, I don't know. It's like that bias toward outliers where you only really pay attention to IPOs that go crazy. But I feel like going up 25% from your IPO price isn't that crazy. Like we've seen like Kava was insane, right? Like we've seen IPOs that just take up Snow, same thing, right? So I don't know. This didn't strike me as like super impressive. It was kind of just like, okay, the IPO market isn't dead. This was more like a signs of life rather than a impressive showing. So yeah, anyways, Instacart, led by former Meta executive Fiji Simo, will issue 22 million shares in total, with the stock expected to start trading today on the NASDAQ, while Seeking Alpha analyst IPO Kitchen said that the increased pricing range suggests high retail demand. They're not too confident that Instacart can grow its top line fast enough to justify its premium valuation. Yeah, I don't really. You guys know how I feel about IPOs, right? IPO stands for it's probably overpriced, and I don't want any part of it. In terms of automotive news, not messing around. United Auto Workers are planning additional strikes against the Detroit Three if serious progress is not made in contract negotiations by noon Friday. The union's president, Sean Fain, warned, adding, "We're not messing around." Quote. The new deadline would mark a week since the union announced targeted strikes in factories run by General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis, so GM, F, and STLA. While a team from the White House is expected to arrive in Detroit this week, Fain downplayed its role in brokering a deal. Dang, Fain said, I don't care about the White House. I don't care about your mama, your grandmama. We're going to do what's best for us. Separately, Canada's Unifor? I guess that's what it's called. Canada's Unifor extended negotiations with Ford for a 24-hour period to avoid a strike after the contract between the company and the union expired at midnight. Now, in terms of today's markets, what was it? Everything was like up 0.1, which leads me to believe that it's probably not up now. Yeah, if anything, it looks like we might be like down 0.1. We're definitely at least around where we closed yesterday, maybe a little down, but basically opening flat. The market is. So not really worth it to go through that. Today, the FOMC meeting begins. Again, we don't get any news or notes on that meeting until tomorrow at 2 p.m. Then we have Powell speaking at 3. So that's going to be the highlight of this week. We've got a lot kind of hinging right now. Technically meaning whenever you hear technically regarding, stocks or anything like that, it means based on the charts, right? So based on the charts, we are bearish, right? We're bearish on the daily. A lot of different charts are bearish on the daily, bearish on the hourly. So right now, the Fed day would either have to yank us out of that bearish stance or we just continue. But right now, we're not starting from like net neutral. And that's what's important to recognize too going into these events. A lot of people are like, oh, well, the whole market, we're kind of sitting at net neutral until we hear from the Fed, until we hear from Powell. And that's not really the case, right? Until we're sitting at net negative, right? The sentiment is bearish. So right now we're sitting at net negative, and we're either going to really lose it, right? The market. What am I from Boston now? Either the market's really going to lose its draws, for lack of a better term, or right, maybe it can just stay afloat. But it's not like we're at like a place where we could rocket from where we are. Like, can that happen? Yeah. If the Fed is like, hey, we're dropping rates, tomorrow, then yeah, the market is going to fly. But I don't think that's going to happen. So as of right now, we're sitting at a net bearish spot headed into that announcement, which is really important to recognize, right? Let's see here. In terms of what else is happening, we'll finish up with a rapid fire bullet point rundown here. WSB, so Wall Street Breakfast Survey results. Fed may not be done with its hiking cycle. Apparently, that's what a lot of people think. Pfizer sees 24% of eligible Americans getting COVID boosters. Hedge fund bets on U.S. Treasury futures could spark turmoil. EV maker NIO, ticker NIO, plans $1 billion convertible senior note offering. Gap, ticker GPS, leads drop in mall stocks as retail worries grow. Credit card delinquencies, net charge-offs trend higher in August. Amazon mulls new subscription programs in grocery and healthcare. Lyft, ticker LYFT, to pay $10 million to settle Carl Icahn-related investigation. Then Tilray, ticker TLRY, slides after new short call from Carisdale Capital. And Coke, ticker KO, could be Burger King's India beverage partner. So again, India is the new frontier, right? The new gold rush has been going on really over the course of the last decade in India. That's where everyone's been focused. That's where a lot of money is, and I think that's where a lot of corporate attention is going to continue to go, because we've only got one Earth, which means we've only got one kind of group of monetizable humans, and all these big companies, of course, want to take advantage of every nook and cranny that they can. So India is the new frontier, right? So all the big techs want to lock that down. But other than that, as I mentioned, right, we're coming into today like really just net bearish across the board. So it's important to understand that, right? Recognize that. And we had a few tickers, right, that we mentioned yesterday that were, under that same kind of blanket. So just understand that, right? Take that to heart. That should be enough of a nice little tip as we head into what we have going on today. But I'm going to go ahead and dive into, the analysis that we have going on in the Loom videos. As always, guys, make sure that you are tuning in on Instagram, watching the reels that are posted, because that is prime education that's posted there each and every day that will help you as you go about placing trades, right? By breaking down stuff that we did in the past and hopefully having something click that can help you, shift that corner or make that change or make that turn to level up your trading, right? And of course, level up the multiplication power of your money. So I appreciate you guys as always. Great job being here, investing in yourselves. That's always going to net the biggest return, right? Let's have another great day in markets. We had a few great trades yesterday, right? We've had a few bangers over the course of the past few days, but it's really been entering and exiting at, expertly precise spots, taking profit, good profit, and letting that grow over time, right? But we have, five plays, I think it was 5-6 plays that did well for us yesterday. So it's all we're looking to do, right? If you can get one or two, you're chilling. And you'll notice by the end of the week, you do that every day throughout the week. You're like, oh, I've made a few $100 or I made a few $1,000 that I didn't realize I would make with the small gains. So aim for the base hits, right? The consistency is key. Let's have another great day in markets, and I'll see you guys back here tomorrow morning for our next pre-market prep session. Have a good one.